So I haven't played any chords yet. So I'm like, okay. Okay, so now I'm gonna just try to play chords. I'm gonna take that melody, try to play chords that aren't associated with necessarily what the chords are in the bridge.
The Peninsula Symphony does so many wonderful things in that community, and something to be really proud of. And I know this is such a strange time and we can't have normal concerts, and it's a shame, but what we can do is keep the music alive through events like this and keep the wonderful contribution that the Peninsula Symphony is making to the vibrancy and the cultural life of that community alive. So thank you for being part of this virtual event. Support the Peninsula Symphony. It is important, and it adds so much.
We're live from one of our bi-monthly orchestra Zoom sessions, and our musicians have something they'd like to say.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good evening and welcome to All Stars at Home. This is the Peninsula Symphony's Gala event. We would have loved to be greeting you all in person and sharing some food and drink, but we are all at home and we're going to make the best of it. And we're hoping to provide you an entertaining and fun evening in which we can re-engage everybody with the Peninsula Symphony's activities in the shelter-in-place era. And we're going to present some wonderful musicians to you and some beautiful music, and tell you a little bit about what the Peninsula Symphony has been doing in these last 3 months and what we're planning to do in the next months. As you all probably know, we were on the verge, just days away from presenting our very much long anticipated Violins of Hope concerts on March 13th and 14th. When we had to cancel our activities and postpone a lot of concerts and events, which gives us the opportunity to look forward to doing those in the future. And we've got much of that planned in coming months, and we'll tell you all about that as well tonight. The Violins of Hope was going to be a quite special event. These were those instruments rescued from the Holocaust, although their owners were not. And they speak for the people who perished, and they speak eloquently in the hands of the musicians of the Peninsula Symphony. And we will look forward to playing that concert for you, we hope, in the spring of 2021. We had to cancel our May concert and our summer concert and our family concert. And now we've had to cancel our fall season, but it's not really canceled. These are all postponements, and we look forward to presenting wonderful concerts to you, everything that we have anticipated playing and everything that we hope you have anticipated listening to in coming months. We'll have with us tonight Taylor Eigsti, members of the Peninsula Symphony, donors, and also especially with us, the other members of our leadership team, Chelsea Chambers and Sherry Frumkin. And we will try to give you lots of information and encouragement about how we will be in place. We will be stronger than ever when we get back on stage. And in the meantime, we hope to be very exciting and vital in your musical lives. We're presenting compilations with many members of the orchestra playing together. We're presenting Peninsula Symphony musicians at home, and we're going to present many of our all-stars, our soloists, and other musical luminaries in performance conversations. And that series of programs will begin very soon. Let me introduce Sherry Frumkin, our managing director, and welcome, Sherry.
Thank you, Mitch. Good evening. I'm very excited to be with you here tonight. I think you will see an exciting program ahead of you. And I want to thank you so much for joining us for so many reasons. It's an important evening insofar as we do raise funds to help us continue to present programming to you, even if it is virtual. We are fortunate to be in a position to have a couple bequests to stabilize us, but in order to not sustain an operating loss this year, we will need your support. The Symphony has been around for over 70 years. It's really remarkable insofar as many of our musicians have also performed for many decades with us. So I encourage you to relax, enjoy yourself, and consider supporting this wonderful organization this evening.
And also with us, the third member of our leadership team, our operations manager, Chelsea Chambers.
Thanks, Mitch, and thanks everyone for viewing tonight's virtual gala. We do wish we were in the concert hall with you on a continued basis as before. And in these challenging times, we just ask for your support and want to recognize that the real all-stars of the Peninsula Symphony are our musicians. We are a volunteer-based organization. These musicians are classically trained. They have devoted many years of study to fine-tuning their instrument. And tonight, if you would like to contribute to the longevity of this 70-year plus organization right in your own backyard, please visit peninsulaSymphony.org/donate. These musicians are brilliant artists that chose to follow professional careers outside the music world, whether as doctors, teachers, lawyers, tech industry whizzes, or real estate agents. And as you give tonight or in the future, you support their own choice to contribute to the myriad of cultural entities that we are so lucky to have right in our own backyard. So thank you all for your support tonight.
We're going to be presenting a lot of the musical activities that Peninsula Symphony is currently doing. And we're also going to be showing you some of our all-stars. And let's start with one of our favorite all-time all-stars, jazz virtuoso Taylor Eigsti, in a conversation and a performance that we did just a short while ago. Here's Taylor Eigsti along with me, and we'll see you back here on our Orchestra Zoom in a little while.
Hi, I'm Dan Ashley from ABC 7 News, and I want to take just a few moments to thank you for being part of this wonderful virtual event for the Peninsula Symphony. I've been so proud to be involved with the Symphony on occasion and be a supporter as often as I can be. A couple of years ago, I was honored to be a part of a Lincoln portrait performance when Mitch, your wonderful maestro, asked me to participate. The Peninsula Symphony does so many wonderful things in that community, and something to be really proud of. And I know this is such a strange time and we can't have normal concerts, and it's a shame, but what we can do is keep the music alive through events like this and keep the wonderful contribution that the Peninsula Symphony is making to the vibrancy and the cultural life of that community alive. So thank you for being part of this virtual event. Support the Peninsula Symphony. It is important and it adds so much. All the best, and I'll see you soon.
Welcome back to Peninsula Symphony All-Stars, our fundraising gala, and we are happy to welcome back our all-time all-star soloist, Taylor Eigsti. Welcome, Taylor.
Thank you, Mitch. It's good to be hanging with you.
Yeah, it's nice to see you. We've talked on the phone, we've texted over the last 4 months, but it's the first time I'm actually seeing you in sort of almost virtual person.
Yeah.
Where are you?
The future of humanity is hanging out like this, I guess.
Oh, I hope not for terribly long, but it is for now, that's for damn sure.
Yeah.
So tell us where you are and how life has been for you for the last 4 months.
Well, I'm here in my apartment in New York City in Manhattan, and I've been here for the last 4.5 months. And it's a bizarre change of pace for me, where last year I think I was gone something like 250 or 300 days out of the year. And a lot of touring around the world, about 7, 8 trips out to Japan, and just a lot of different, you know, it was constantly in different time zones. And I'm finding that it's much more disorienting to stay in one place for this long. I've had the opportunity to do a few different solo piano live at home kind of concerts, and I'm getting very tired of those. And luckily, there's a few things finally coming up that I'm doing that are actual shows at venues and you know where I'm actually able to go out and play with other people, which is that's the main my favorite thing to do,
Yeah.
and play on other pianos too. Because even if I play 1 or 2 notes on this piano, I could pick it out from a crowd. I've had this piano since I was 13, so I know what it sounds like so deeply that it's hard to kind of fabricate in your brain that there's an audience listening when you have that kind of virtual setup.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's been a big challenge, and just a big challenge staying sane and all of that. And there's so much that I miss, but I'm hoping that, you know, maybe there's you know, the last time there was a big pandemic like this was in 1918, and
Right.
most of the music that we know in the world, as far as popular music like rock and R&B and jazz and certainly and all sorts of stuff, it all came after that. So it gives me some
Right.
hope that there'll be a lot of good things to come after this pandemic has hopefully settled down.
Let's take a. I actually have some excerpts here to listen to that we can talk about. You have done an arrangement with Ron of Caravan, and you've done it several times with us. And I want to play. It starts off with a brilliant solo piano intro before the orchestra comes in, and I want to play 3 different versions of that, and we can talk about it. So
Okay,
here's
cool.
number 1. So you start out with something that kind of sounds a little art pop. Very intense, very driving. But now you're riffing on Caravan. Still driving like crazy. Continuing. Orchestra is preparing. Orchestra is listening. Another riff on Caravan. I think this is just incredibly brilliant. It's
Thanks,
why
man.
I am in awe. And then,
I probably started it here.
let's see. All right, now we have,
What concert was that from?
so this is from 2015, Saturday Night Concert.
This was last year, right?
No, it was 4 years ago.
Oh wow.
I have last year too.
Okay.
So that was one version from 2016, and if I play the Friday, that was the Saturday night concert. If I play the Friday night concert, you'll hear it starts out quite similarly and goes in a very different direction. On our last concerts, just a little over a year ago, these were our reunion concerts with David Benoit and Chris Brubeck and Dan Brubeck. And we had a jam-packed program, and we wanted to keep everything concise. So this is how it went last year. Totally different opening. Now it's starting to sound a little like that did, but it's more relaxed, more lyrical. Pensive. Not exactly a riff on Caravan yet. It's about a minute and a half shorter. But then the orchestra comes in, and this shaped up a little differently too. Dan Brubeck.
Right. Rhythm section, different rhythm section plays a big difference.
Makes it's equally wonderful. And also different bass guitarist and not a upright bass.
Right.
So those are two wonderful examples of a brilliant improviser. How do these sound to you? Listening, I'm seeing your eyes kind of light up a little bit as you listen.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's fun to revisit that because anytime I do a solo intro to something, I genuinely have no idea where the hell I'm going. So, well, let me rephrase that. I know where I'm going, but I don't know necessarily how I'm going to get there.
Yeah.
And, and so, sometimes I like to leave it, organic and to try to create something as organic and cinematic as possible, where there's kind of a story being told through textures and dynamics and things like that, where a lot of times, I guess in the first version that would have been I would have tried to kind of create a wall of kind of a rumbling, chaotic wall, and then have different things react to that. I think in that first version, I was also essentially playing through the form of the melody too,
Right.
in a way, because I think at one point I might have gotten to something that would have resembled the bridge, and then the form of that tune is AABA. So I think I was essentially playing through the whole melody, but
Right.
first starting with a wall of chaos and then responding to that, so that there's different. I've always found over time that people will listen a little harder when you're unpredictable, and that was something that I feel like there was moments of trying to be surprising, and a lot of times, it will be kind of there's when you're improvising, 50% of the stuff that you play is stuff that you set out to play, and then 50% just happens, and you're reacting to something, reacting to the present moment, reacting to a number of different things that create tension and release. So tension and release is a pretty multidimensional thing, in the sense that there's tension and release dynamically, there's tension and release range wise, the register that you're playing
Harmonically,
in, harmonically for sure, sparse
instrumentally,
density, all of that. Yeah.
color-wise, all of those things.
And I think when you're aware of those different components to tension and release, and kind of the more of a 3D version of tension and release, where it's operating in different levels, it can create something kind of hopefully compelling or interesting. There's a certain point where, when I'm playing a solo intro and improvising, I'll just kind of get this sense of when it's the appropriate time to start, and sometimes it just if you leave enough space in different places, then it allows you to hear what you just played and react to that, and see what's Julian Lage, who I've played with Peninsula several times. He, years ago, we were talking, and he tries to, everything he plays, every note, there has to be a necessity for it. So if I'm playing a lot of pretty wild and crazy low register fast notes together, that kind of on some level vaguely resemble maybe kind of the just kind of a C diminished vibe, where there's different chords that might fit inside. If you're taking a this basic harmony of the first chord of the tune,
Right.
there's a lot of things that harmonies that are kind of hidden inside that one bigger harmony. And so for me, a lot of that might be kind of things that move in a diminished kind of a way, or minor thirds. It's a big hybrid, nice dirty harmony. And so when I'm doing something to kind of explore different chaotic fast textures at the beginning of something like that, a lot of times those will be arpeggiations of some of those different harmonies that might be embedded in there. And I try to just create something that's kind of frantic, but also kind of rides the wave of that particular harmony. So I wouldn't necessarily be playing something that would involve a lot of I'm going to basically be staying more within like a sonic structure of something that almost, if you played all of the notes at once, they would kind of create one general chord in a way. So a lot of times I'm thinking in those terms, and then being aware of the textural tension and release. Like if I do a bunch of chaotic fast stuff that's in that, then at some point I'm going to want to stop and then play something really, really sparse, maybe really really soft, and something that creates a startling difference in there, and different ways. And I think in the second solo intro, I probably was a little bit more. It probably was an intention that I didn't want to go on too long. I think on the first version, I wanted to really explore it, and I wanted to kind of like play through the melody a little bit and take some time. And I think in that one, for whatever reason, maybe probably because in some, at least some small part, due to what you mentioned, which was there was a hell of a lot of music packed into that one program.
Yeah.
So maybe just in the interest of moving things along, I may have wanted to kind of like see if the statement felt right to kind of end it a little sooner, and then maybe start from a different angle. If you start with chaos, then you have to create a reason that the chaos happened. And if you start with something that's more like if I'm creating a solo intro to that, just right there I just played a chord, which is kind of a C7 sus4, which is similar to the first chord of the tune. My left hand started playing the root over and over. So now I've kind of created a texture here.
Yeah.
And so now what could respond to this texture? So now we just all of a sudden start in a totally different way, but I never questioned it in the moment. So I might, at that point, I'm just going to respond to anything that happened. So, so from there, so now there's tension and release created because I haven't played anything in the low register yet. So that would be a cool thing to do next.
Right.
So now we've already created a little bit of a response between two different elements that are going on. Play a little fragment of the melody, maybe tie it to the tune.
Yep.
Now do something surprising harmonically, since we've stayed there for a while. But I've kept this kind of consistent theme this long. It doesn't make sense to end it right now, or at least not yet, because I know I can use the repeated ostinato of playing that one note as eventually a release later on. Because if I stop doing it, now that's a release from doing that.
And then silence becomes
a
big moment.
So sometimes silence is the answer to the question. So, and sometimes silence is the question that you answer by playing something. So just within just the concept of creating something that's totally freely improvised, a lot of times there's, there's little kernels of information that I'll use, in the sense of, oftentimes, if there's part of the melody to the tune, if there's part of the main harmonies, like what's home base in that tune, instead of most tunes being like, oh, this tune is in C major, or this tune is in C minor, that tune kind of has a home base of that C, the dominant with the flat 9 in there, that little kind of, it's a dirty little dominant chord. But that's home base, so thinking about it from the standpoint of, okay, well, in the landscape of this tune, where is home? And home is that. So if I know that, I could always start there, I could start at home, or I could probably start somewhere else. Maybe Oftentimes, it just takes like maybe just you take a lightning quick little meditate on, I either think through maybe, okay, if I want to do something deliberately a little bit differently, I might think through something like, okay, I'm gonna play around with the bridge this time. So I haven't played any chords yet. So I'm like, okay, so now I'm gonna just try to play chords. I'm gonna take that melody, try to play chords that aren't associated with necessarily what the chords are in the bridge. If I've landed there, I might actually think to myself, you know what? That might be good enough. That might be all the intro we need. I just set it up with the 5 of home. So if I was to start there at that point, it kind of makes sense. Not every intro has to go on for 10 minutes. Sometimes I used to play in the great trumpeter Nicholas Payton's band, and sometimes I would be soloing, and he would cut me off after one chorus. And I think one night I asked him just kind of why he would do that, and he's like, sometimes I know when you're done like better than you do.
And was he right?
Absolutely. I mean, when I listen back to any of those kind of moments, when you're improvising, if you get so caught up in what you're doing and your thought process is so involved in that, it's hard to be kind of third person and have a wider perspective of like, how long has this gone on? What is the statement here? Are you soloing an extra chorus because you're trying to fix something?
And yet
sometimes
you have, and I've seen this proved over and over again, an uncanny sense of proportion. And,
well, thanks.
and when enough is complete to move on to the next thing. And that's the hard thing for symphony musicians to understand. And it's why it's such a challenge for us and for me to accompany you, because we have to listen in a way that jazz players do, hearing the underlying chord structure, because you're going off in so many different directions, or whoever is improvising at that moment. And yet it's generally within a 16 or 32 bar harmonic structure. And if we can follow that, then we know where you are. But it's a different kind of listening from what we usually listen to.
Right. Just knowing where the seams are and all of that. I mean, I think it's one of those things where if you're dealing with 3 to 5 people that are jazz musicians playing together, obviously it's easier from the standpoint of, it's less musicians too. But, there's people that do that really well in certain contexts. And then some people that, it does involve whether or not you're in like someone like your position, or if you're just a member of the jazz ensemble. It really takes a lot of intense listening either way. There's I used to do a lot. I've done some touring with one of my favorite guitarists in the world, Kurt Rosenwinkel, and I think he's one of the best musicians I've ever worked with, from the standpoint of, in many ways, but especially in the standpoint of, he can hear the content of my solo and the content of the story being told. And he'll know just the right time. If he's soloing after me, he'll know just the right time to kind of psychologically, express to me like, oh, I hear you. Oh, cool. Okay. Oh, I see you. And now this happened. Where if you're passing off an improvisation to someone else, you want it to be, a continuation of the story and a response to that. One of my biggest pet peeves is sometimes playing with certain musicians that you get to the end of a solo and let's say that I'm playing and I'm like, oh cool, this is like one of the few times that I'm actually okay with the solo that I played, and I get to the end of it and everything, and then it's like it's time for them to start their solo, but then they just kind of look around because they weren't really listening. And it's frustrating because then they leave this kind of half of a ghost chorus and that sort of a thing. And so there's a lot of psychology behind it, where when you're comping for someone as a pianist behind another instrumentalist improvising, it's being social. and
Right.
it's comping is a social art form where you have to, it's just that it's like hanging out with someone, like, laughing at their jokes at the right time, or we've all certainly hung out with people where you're like, yeah, it feels like the rhythm is off, like can't get a word in edgewise, or things like that. And so I think the musical interaction in that kind of a context is at its best just really good social communication.
Yeah, when people are really connected, they're connected by ear and by eye and by feel. That is why it's so much fun for me to work with a jazz master like you, because I do have to listen in a different way, and it opens up my ears, and it gives us a different kind of partnership that I really appreciate, and I learn every time, as I have learned from this just now. It's a wonderful lesson in improvisation, a wonderful experience at hearing how you think through or just sort of intuit through the process of improv. And you're fantastic at it. Taylor Eigsti
Thanks, man.
is an amazing player, but more importantly, an amazing musical mind and musical spirit. So we sure look forward to getting you out here and making music together as soon as possible.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm hoping that I mean, people are forced to be really creative now with a lot of different things. I've seen some footage of a concert done where the whole theater was filled with plants, which actually was a
Oh
really
yeah, I saw
beautiful
that. That was
and
fantastic.
striking image. But whether whether that's the answer or what, I'm hoping that we come to a place where we can be able to do a lot of the things that we love to do the most again, and and hopefully sooner than later.
We will get back to a place where we can be together and make music together, body to body, and we look forward to that. But in the meantime, it's great to see you, Taylor. It's great to talk music with you. We could go on for 5 hours on this subject or any other, but it's just great to see you and to get a chance to spend some time together. Thank you for this.
Likewise, man. Absolutely.
Thanks for all that you have contributed to Peninsula Symphony over the years, and we'll look forward to lots more.
Absolutely, man.
You take care.
Have a good one.
Taylor Eigsti, everybody. Thank you.
Good evening. I hope you enjoyed what you just saw between Taylor Eigsti and Maestro Klein. The reason I'm back here right now is to announce the exciting news that we have a matching grant of $10,000. We have 3 very generous donors who have come together, and they will match every dollar you give tonight. So please consider giving now, peninsulaSymphony.org/donate. You may be thinking, well, why do you need money at a time when you're not producing concerts or giving us live entertainment? And the reason is we are producing virtual entertainment, and we'll continue to do that both on the entertainment side and the educational side for the next coming months until we're back in the concert halls. And therefore, we do need support at this time. I am going to turn it over to a couple of major stakeholders, Peninsula Symphony, coming right up.
Hi there, my name is Ho Chen, and I have served as assistant conductor for Maestro Mitchell Sardu Klein and the Peninsula Symphony since 2018. It has been amazing to work with such warm and welcoming people who care deeply about sharing their musical gifts. As a conductor, the experience I have gained here has been invaluable, and I am fortunate to get a chance to make music with such genuine artists. I find it incredible that this orchestra of busy professionals generously brings great versatility and integrity to the musical arts, and I'm honored to be their assistant conductor. I would like to take a moment now to thank Mitch, Sherry, Chelsea, and all the people who worked tirelessly to make this organization the special gem that it is. It has been inspiring to see how connected the orchestra has been amidst the pandemic, and encouraging to see such thirst for musical activity as we navigate through these times together. I know that we all cannot wait to return to the stage and share our music with each other and the community. Thank you for attending our virtual gala and for your continued support of the Peninsula Symphony. Hope everyone stays safe out there.
Hello, my name is Karen Alden. I'm a longtime fan of the Peninsula Symphony. My husband and I attended our first Peninsula Symphony concert about 12 years ago. We were wowed by the performance and so excited to discover that we could enjoy live, high-quality concerts right here on the peninsula. Over time, we got an unexpected bonus, the pleasure of becoming part of the broader Peninsula Symphony community. One of the things that I'm looking forward to once this coronavirus is under control is being able to once again attend Peninsula Symphony concerts. In the meantime, I'm happy to be able to provide financial support to the Peninsula Symphony, helping to ensure that they will be able to continue to perform beautiful live music for all of us to enjoy. I encourage you to contribute too, at whatever dollar amount is right for you.
Welcome back to the Peninsula Symphony Gala. We are here now with our wonderful concertmaster, Debra Fong, concertmaster of the Peninsula Symphony. Welcome, Debra.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
The audience who has been watching Peninsula Symphony on their devices instead of in the concert hall has seen you a lot, and we're very grateful for that. So let me ask you what life in the COVID era is like for a person who derives a great deal of her life's work from teaching and also from performing on the violin. What's it been like for you the last 4 months?
This has been a very interesting, challenging, unique time that has called upon enormous efforts for creativity and for positivity and just kind of looking forward. I have been the spring quarter at Stanford, and for my younger private students was very interesting when suddenly in March everything had to go online, and everybody was willing, and it was very interesting to maintain the momentum and the learning pace. Thankfully, all of my students actually kind of flourished and did really well with their lessons, and we have taken, in the last 3 weeks, we've taken sort of a little break, but we're about to start up again next week with lessons again. So, but everybody was really quite forthcoming with what they enjoyed and what they didn't enjoy about the teaching. My Stanford students were in every single time zone in the United States and one abroad. Right. So it was interesting trying to schedule everybody. So, what
platform do you use for teaching online? Are you using Zoom? Are you using FaceTime?
I'm using both of those, and actually I am morphing more towards FaceTime just because there's a little bit less latency and in the video. Right. And the sound quality is usually a little bit more pure, but we're, whatever works. I've resorted to even using good old Skype every now and then with some students. And then I do have one student in particular who has a very challenging living situation to where he has 2 roommates who also work in tech like he does, and he's a Stanford alum, and they all work from home, so he cannot practice at normal hours. He has to wait until his roommates go running or something. And so he and I have been doing video exchange lessons, so everything is by video, his playing for me and then my comments back to him. So it's like I said, we've had to be very creative.
So that's the teaching side of the coin. In terms of the performing side, we've looked at situations where we've put together videos, compilation videos, where everybody is alone at home, and some engineer, we looked at Daniel Cher on this program, has to put all those together into one larger ensemble. But some people are lucky enough to have crafted their lives in such a way as they have ensembles at home. Debra's husband is Christopher Costanza, the cellist of the St. Lawrence Quartet, and for quite a while they've had their daughter, wonderful violist, recent graduate of New England Conservatory, Isabella, home. And so what's it been like for you to be able to play trios with your family?
It's so meaningful, especially just because we don't take it for granted that we are able to say, hey, after dinner, let's play some trios or something. And we can actually maintain the communication that chamber musicians long for in that interactive, ESP that chamber musicians have. And we've been very grateful to have each other around, and we've been lucky enough to be able to record several videos to be shared publicly, and we've done some master classes and a bunch of things in the presence of each other, which is very unique, where we don't take it for granted. We're really lucky. We used to think of ourselves as just a nerdy musical family, but in this time that's been so challenging and isolating, we just cherish the fact that we can make music together. And now that our daughter Isabella is back in Toronto, where she goes to grad school at the Glenn Gould School, she has told us how much she misses playing trios. And we hopefully will have some other recitals, live recitals as a family trio that later on in the 2021 season. Hopefully those won't get canceled, but we will see. And I've been grateful to be able to play duos and just anything with my husband, Chris.
And we are grateful for all of the beautiful music that you have recorded that falls into several categories, but two of the categories are educational music. Education is a very important part of the Peninsula Symphony's mission, and I'd like to play for everybody now a little bit of a trio video that Debra and Christopher and Isabella recorded. Listen to this.
Hi, I'm Debra Fong. I'm Concertmaster of the Peninsula Symphony, and welcome to my living room. I'm sitting here with my family, my husband Christopher Costanza, cellist, and our daughter Isabella Costanza, violist.
So that's a little bit of an example of what can happen and what creativity can make music come alive for our audience. And here's another one. This is now not in the category of educational music, but a performance, a beautiful performance of Schubert Trio. Let's see if I can get this rolling. Two beautiful examples of music making at home in the Fong Costanza family. If you want to see more of that, please go to peninsulaSymphony.org, PSO at home. And we are very grateful to our musical family, and in particular this musical family, for providing beautiful music for our audience to listen to and for the rest of us to share and keep our musical mission alive with the Peninsula Symphony. Thank you, Debra Fong. Thank you to your family, and we'll look forward to seeing lots more music coming from you and the rest of the all-stars in the Peninsula Symphony.
Thanks so much, Mitch.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Catherine Buckstein, and I've been a violist in the Peninsula Symphony for over 20 years. I so enjoy playing with my wonderfully talented fellow musicians, and playing under the direction of our incredible Maestro Klein is simply the best. He brings out the best in all of us with his passion for the music and his meticulous and disciplined conducting. This musical part of my life is so important to me because I get to be part of making the world's most beautiful symphonic music with all of its power and all of its delicacy. It's always so satisfying to dig in and study and learn the often very daunting parts and then see it all come together as Concert Week nears. And then we have the privilege of sharing it with our incredibly appreciative audiences in our Peninsula community. It's a real, real joy. My husband and I have been longtime Peninsula Symphony supporters, and we both served on the board in the past as well. I really hope you will consider joining me in supporting the Peninsula Symphony tonight, as we need your generosity to keep the music alive. Thank you so much, and have a really great evening.
Continuing with our Peninsula Symphony Gala, we are welcoming now our wonderful violinist, Daniel Cher, a member of the Peninsula Symphony's violin section, and just a remarkable and Renaissance man when it comes to music. Danny has also been very much involved with and very much in charge of the Peninsula Symphony chamber players. And so his involvement with Peninsula Symphony music making has continued to expand all through the last few years. Welcome, Danny.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
So in the last 4 months, how has your life changed?
I think similar to many people who live here in the Bay Area, I've gone to work from home on March, I think it was March 10th or March 13th. I've been work from home since then. When I'm not practicing violin, I run clinical trials for medical device companies. Not surprisingly, the trials that I work on have to do with elective surgery. Elective surgeries have been generally canceled and they're only coming back recently. Right. So the trials that I've been working on have kind of come to a halt, but they're beginning to ramp up again. And hopefully as we emerge from the crisis, we'll be able to continue doing our research work.
That will be good. It'll be good for all of us. But in the meantime, with a little more time on your hands, how have you used some of that time to make more music?
Well, I miss playing with my friends. I enjoy going to orchestra rehearsal every Tuesday. I also get together on a regular basis with friends. And as you know, we've done a number of chamber music concerts with members of Peninsula Symphony. We can't do that now, which is really unfortunate. My younger daughter introduced me to an iPhone app called Acapella. It's a way where you can record yourself playing one track and then record yourself playing a second, third, fourth track. I started doing that, started experimenting, and realized that there really is a potential to do music with others. And I have been exploring that in various situations. There are still hundreds of pieces left that I want to perform.
That's for sure.
And here's a way of it takes more work. It's a lot of effort, but with some work, you can put together a pretty good performance.
Like most orchestras and ensembles, musical ensembles that have been socially distanced and remote from one another, everybody is crazy about the inability to get together in the same room and play music together. And also the inability to reach our audience in the usual way with live concerts. But here's an example of a way that musicians can get together, play beautiful music, play it together, and present that to our audience, and make it sound really wonderful and give our audience a marvelous musical experience. Listen to this. So that's an example of who do we see on screen right there?
So we saw my friend Michelle Flexter, old cellist that I used to play with in St. Michael Trio, and Sue Macy, principal clarinetist of Peninsula Symphony. Sue was also a clarinet teacher for my daughter for 10, 12 years. So I've gotten to know Sue very well.
And we saw two violinists and a violist. And can you identify those people?
Yes, I was covering those. And by the way, I need to talk to the violist because while the two violinists were doing down bow, the violist was doing up bow.
Nevertheless,
I guess you get what you're paid for, right?
It sounds terrific. So once each of those people has recorded their part with a click track or some way of knowing that they're going to be together when it's all put together, what happens after that?
So let me describe the click track process first. A click track is when you're listening to music in your ear and you're playing at the same time. The click track often has clicks like a metronome to keep you together. The way I created this one is I went to a website called MuseScore. I downloaded an electronic version of the Mozart Clarinet Quintet into some software called MuseScore. I then was able to produce a click track with clicks and appropriate retards and various other musical things into an MP3. I distribute that to the clarinetist, the cellist. We're listening with earphones, so you can see that the recording I was playing with earphones. And while that recording is playing in our ears, we're simultaneously playing and recording on a second device. Once we do that, I ask all the members to send me their videos. I then use 2 pieces of software to put it all together. One audio software so that I can work on the audio, fix some various things here and there, put things together, line things up, and then import that into video editing software to create a reasonable video experience.
So it's very labor intensive. It's a big job, but the results can be pretty terrific. And we're going to conclude this little bit of interview with a larger scale even piece of music. This is the Dvorak Slavonic Dance, Opus 72, number 2. And this was a larger scale project with me conducting and lots of tempo variations and a large number of musicians participating. Listen to how this all worked together. So, with thanks to Daniel Cher for all of the hard work he's put in to create musical content for our audience and for our musicians to participate in. And we invite you to see all of the many beautiful videos that are now posted to the PSO at home on our website. Thank you, Daniel Cher, for all of your hard work and for spending this time with us.
My pleasure.
Thanks very much, and we'll continue with our program. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Annette Ron, and this is Frank Ron.
And I'm Frank, yes. We've been with the Symphony now about 15, 20 years. Annette's been on the board. I play in the orchestra, and we urge you to support Peninsula Symphony. We do that because, first of all, if there's no music, there's no life. And if there's no classical music, well, depends what you like, but we like classical music. And we like classical music at the Peninsula Symphony because, one, the programming, which we think is excellent. We like it because of the community. And lastly, the accessibility, being able to get to a quality program without having to travel a long way. We also think it's like it because it's live and local.
Hi, this is Matt, Principal Percussion, and I just want to say, please support Peninsula Symphony. It's a great organization that I love being part of, and I know all the members feel the same way because it allows us to do 2 things that we love, which is play great music and interact with the community and meet all kinds of people, including the kids who we meet through the outreach program and all of the wonderful people who come to the concerts. And it just keeps a really strong bond going between the performers and the community. And so please support us today. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
As I think most of you already know, we have had to take the unfortunate step of postponing all of our fall concerts for the Peninsula Symphony. And that means we will not be seeing you, our treasured audience, through the fall season as we had hoped we would. But none of these concerts are canceled. All of them are merely postponed, and we will play all of that music for you, and we will have beautiful concerts for you to attend. We have tentatively rescheduled these programs starting in the winter of 2021. We hope to be able to bring you the Russian program featuring John Nakamatsu with the Tchaikovsky Piano Concerto, Shostakovich's Fifth Symphony. We expect to be able to bring to you the American program with Tessa Lark and Michael Thurber. In the spring of 2021, we will still be having the concerto competitions that are a substantial part of our educational outreach, the Marilyn Mindell competition in the early part in the winter of 2021, and our Young Musicians competition, with the winners of those performing at the family concert and our summer concert, all of that to take place in the winter and spring, and then even into the summer of the year 2021. And that is something that gives us renewed hope and anticipation for lots of great concerts. On March 13th and 14th, we had hoped to bring you the Violins of Hope, and that is also very much in the pipeline to be performed in the spring of 2021. For those of you who recall, Violins of Hope are those extraordinary string instruments that had belonged to families that didn't survive the Holocaust. And this remarkable violin maker in Israel named Amnon Weinstein made it his life's work to recover these treasured instruments, to bring them back to life, and allow them to be played by musical artists today to tell the stories of those lost in the Holocaust with the instruments that they owned and played and were so much a part of their musical lives. So this program, the Violins of Hope, will come to our audience sometime in the spring of 2021, if all goes well. And before we suspended operations just before the 13th and 14th of March, just a couple of months ago, we did get to complete much of the educational outreach that is connected to this magnificent project. We visited a number of schools. You're probably seeing slides of some of that on the screen right now, with Amnon and in some cases Eigsti Weinstein talking about, illustrating, showing numbers of these Violins of Hope to audiences in high schools, some of whom I'm sure were hearing about the Holocaust and the whole story of World War II's aftermath for the first time. And those audiences were mesmerized by this presentation. The live music played on those violins, the videos of the history of the instruments, and the presentations by Eigsti in person. This was a profound experience for all of us who were involved in presenting these educational outreach programs, and for those high school students, many of whom stayed afterwards to ask dozens of questions and learn more about this pivotal moment in our history. So we'd like you to see a little bit of Amnon Weinstein talking about the Violins of Hope right now.
One day came to me a guy, he played on the way to the chamber, gas chamber. He stopped playing after the war, and as he has a grandchild, he wanted to repair the violin that he will play. I opened the violin. I remember there was inside black powder because he was playing beside the crematorium and beside all these horrible places. And I asked him questions, and he told me about what happened there. He told me that people that played, they've seen the family going to the gas chamber. So through the violin, they were going together with them. They couldn't pray. The violin prayed for them.
Those Violins of Hope will be on our stage, played by the members of the Peninsula Symphony, when we are ready to present the Violins of Hope concert. We expect that will be in the spring of 2021. And lastly, we'll leave you now with this beautiful musical excerpt, Haggai Shaham playing some memorable musical moments on the Violins of Hope. We'll resume the rest of our program shortly afterwards, and we thank you for watching today, and thank you for supporting the Peninsula Symphony at this very, very challenging time in our history. On now to Haggai Shaham.
Look, the Nazis are not anymore. The violins, they are. And the violin are playing. And when they are playing, it is victory. And when it is victory, you cannot take it away.
Hi everyone, my name is Solomon G, and this is my cat Artemis. I was one of the featured soloists of the 2019 Peninsula Symphony Family Concert, where I played the first movement of Prokofiev's Third Piano Concerto. I was very fortunate to have this opportunity by winning the Mindel competition. This was actually my first orchestra performance going into it, so I was quite nervous but also very excited. The feeling was absolutely exhilarating, hearing an orchestra behind me for the first time, and I loved the experience. I'm forever grateful to Peninsula Symphony for giving me this opportunity to perform. I also loved how Peninsula Symphony had a very great family feeling that always made me feel welcome. I would encourage you to make a donation of any size so more young musicians can have this opportunity like me. Thank you, Peninsula Symphony.
This is Chelsea Chambers, the Director of Operations for Peninsula Symphony, and I would just like to remind our viewers of something our Managing Director, Sherry Frumkin, announced earlier in tonight's program, which is we have $10,000 of a matching gift, which is given to us by 3 generous supporters. And we would love if you could take advantage of this opportunity by donating to peninsulaSymphony.org/donate. Your gift really does go to a great cause. One of those causes is the Bridges to Music Outreach Program, which is half of our mission statement as a classical music organization in the Bay Area. And this fall during the COVID pandemic, we aim to get our musicians into virtual classrooms via Zoom to middle school and high school music students so that they can demonstrate their instruments and remain active participants in the classical
music creation of young people across the Bay Area. So if you're able to give at any amount, please do visit peninsulaSymphony.org/donate and take advantage of this very exciting, generous offer, a $10,000 dollar-for-dollar match. Thank you very much.
We're live from one of our bi-monthly orchestra Zoom sessions, and our musicians have something they'd like to say.
Thank
you.
So